I have some disturbing stats I want to share with you about fatherless homes. This is not an area we want to be competing with other countries, by the way. China's at 3, India's at 4, the world's at 7. We're at 23%. But the side effects of this, we ain't gonna see for 2 decades.
Hey folks, welcome back to One and Done. I'm George, and today we're going to be delving into the fatherlessness crisis in the US and in the West. Have you ever wondered how we stack up against the rest of the world in this regard? And more importantly, what impact is this crisis having on our families and our children? If it's negative, is there hope for improvement for future generations? Luckily, Patrick Bet-David, a successful husband, father, entrepreneur, and businessman, has put together a video that may help us unravel these questions. Without delay, let's jump in.
I have some disturbing stats I want to share with you about fatherless homes. And by the way, some of the stats, you know, I've seen this before. I'm going to tell you, when you read some of these stats, you're going to sit there and say, that is insane. By the way, these stats are from 2021 of the impact a father makes in a child upbringing, both a girl and a boy. Like I said, disturbing, but you will be shell-shocked with the stats. If you get value from the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let me get right into it. The U.S. has the highest rate of children living in a single-parent household of any nation in the world. About 80% of single-parent homes are led by single mothers, at a rate of 23% of children living with one parent and no other adult. The United States stands over 3 times the world average of 7% of children raised by one parent. For reference, the number stands at 3% in China, 4% in India.
Wow, what happened to the American dream? It's the American dream to have 2 parents in the home now. These poor kids. Well, it's not just America, obviously. It's the West as well.
This is not an area we want to be competing with other countries, by the way. If there is a statistic to not be competing in, this is one of the statistics. China's at 3, India's at 4, the world's at 7. We're at 23% in America. 0 bragging rights. This is the stat everybody wants to hide. And this is the stats where the side effects of this, we ain't gonna see for 2 decades or 3 decades or longer. Takes a while to see the side effects.
China clocks in at 3%, India at 4%, and the rest of the world at 7%. And the US takes the lead with a staggering 23%, 3 times higher than the world's average. So what's China and India doing right, and where in the West are we going wrong? According to Dads for Kids, fatherlessness is a growing issue in Australia and the Western world. Whether stemming from divorce, broken families, or intentional single parenting, an alarming 85% single parent families end up fatherless.
Let me continue. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-age boy only spends about 30 minutes per week with one-on-one conversations with his father. For comparison, the same boy on average will spend about 44 hours a week watching television, playing video games, and surfing the internet. In our house, there is no video games throughout the week.
And he must be passing all of those stages on those video games.
It's on the weekends, after you read 150 pages throughout the week, then you have the right to play video games for an hour or 2 on the weekend, and that's what you have to earn. You have to move your body, you have to exercise. There's certain things you need to do to get to that point. That's our household, but the stat tells you 44 hours a week of watching TV, playing video games, and surfing the internet.
Wow, let that sink in. On average, a young son spends 30 minutes a week in one-on-one conversations with his father, and a whopping 44 hours playing video games and surfing the internet. If he was getting paid, that would be a full-time job plus overtime. But don't worry, nothing can happen in 44 hours on the internet. What on earth could happen? What could go wrong? And I agree with Patrick. Setting your children goals to earn the right of access, in this case, reading 150 pages, exercising, and if successful, they're rewarded with a sense of achievement, with access to the TV, video games, and the internet.
Let me continue. 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of teen suicides, 85% of children and teens with behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. Let me read that stat to you one more time.
Wow.
90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of all teen suicide, 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorder come from fatherless homes.
What are we doing?
That's a very,
What
very
are we doing?
big number. Next, fatherlessness likewise has a direct link to teen pregnancy and sexual activity. Roughly 70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in a fatherless home. 70% of teenage pregnancies comes from fatherless homes. 70%. That's a big number.
Back in the days, the only way you could contact a girl was through the house phone. Usually the older brother or the father would answer, or the mother, and you would be vetted. And if you weren't up to scratch, you either got hung up on, or if you were up to scratch, the father would hand on the phone to the daughter. Then the next stage, you'd ask permission to come to the house, and the vetting continued. These days you look up social media and check out all those thirst traps. You jump into the DMs and start simping your butt off. Guys love what they see, girls love what they hear.
And these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both a father and a mother. On the whole, fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more likely to
Wow.
exhibit violent behavior than children from two-parent household. 20 times
Wow.
more.
But look, hey, if we look into the streets, if we look into the cities, they're far less safer. This behavior, we're seeing it in real time. House break-ins, with carjackings, with stabbings, with shootings. They've all gone up, especially amongst teenagers. Kids these days are brought up with no fear. They have no fear of their parents. They have no fear of the police. They know the system inside out. The problem is they get away with this bad behavior right up until they're 18, and then when they hit 18, they end up in prison because they can't change their behavior. They've got away with it for 18 years. And all of a sudden now you want them to be accountable.
Okay, 20 times more. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chances as children raised by just their father. You may already be blown away by the stats before, so maybe come back and let me read this to you and brace for impact if you missed it.
And the crisis deepens with alarming numbers. 90% of homeless and runaway children, 63% of teens contemplating self-deletion, 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorders, and all hail from fatherless homes. Yet the alarm bells aren't ringing loud enough. There's so much focus these days on sexual orientation and how much melanin we have in our skin. We're missing these seriously flawed outcomes in our society and homes. It doesn't stop there. 70% of teenage pregnancies occur in fatherless homes, leading to the higher abortion rates in that same demographic. Fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to end up incarcerated and 11 times more likely to display violent behavior compared to those of two-parent households.
Let me read it one more time. Listen, just stay with me. Don't get distracted. Stay with me. Listen. If a man and a wife...
Wait on. You know why? Because we know we can get away with things with mum, especially as young boys. We know we can butter mum up. We can tell her what she wants to hear. She's going to feel sorry for us. But we know dad is a logical thinker. Dad's not going to tolerate any foolishness. He knows there's things to be done, and he knows what you need to get them done.
raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chance as children raised by just their fathers. Husband and wife raise their kid. The chance of this kid going to jail is the same as just the father raising his kids. The problem is the single mother without a father in the picture that can sit there and discipline the kids, give them hope, values, principles, all the other stuff. We play different roles. This is statistic. If somebody's watching this saying, oh my God, you're discounting women, you're discounting mothers, go get upset at the stats.
Now, Patrick, you're 100% right. Men and women are there to complement each other. And this contributes to having balanced children. And they generally are the best contributors to society.
Not at me. This is stats. You can't get upset at 3 times 3 is 9. That's stats. I'm giving you stats that's being given to us by the government because they have access to these stats. This is disturbing. Let me continue. Girls with no fathers have lower self-esteem. We can lower crime, lower mental issues, help the economy, lower suicide rates, and decrease homelessness by bringing back the family nucleus. There are things that my wife can do as a mother that I can't do. There's things she can bring that I can't bring. but there are things I can do that she can't do. So now you may say, well, Pat, I agree. I do agree. We can lower this. We can. But then how come it's not happening? And here's the other question. Who's to blame? Who do we blame with this? Now, you may be listening to this saying, well, it's got to be the husband and wife's fault. It's got to be the man and the woman's fault. Fine. How come it's not the same ratios around the world? Why is U.S. fatherlessness at 23%? Everywhere else is 7% average. So is it really the mom and dad? So how about the mom and dad in India?
It's
How about the
cultural.
mom and dad in China? How about the mom and dad in Germany? How about the mom and dad in Brazil? How about the mom and dad in other places? Why are we at 23%? How did this happen? Was it like this before? Is it an evolution? Is it mainstream media? Is it Hollywood? Is it the fact that parents are afraid of parenting because everybody is so much involved? You can't do that to your kid. You can't do this to your kid. You can't discipline your kid like that. Whose fault is it? It's someone's fault. Is it the fact that, hey, we can't really bring church and schools and pray and all this stuff? I don't know. Maybe that's not something you agree with. Maybe it is. Maybe we need those values and principles. But it's somebody's fault in America that this is happening. This is purely a systemic issue that we're having. This cannot be like no, it's really the community, it's the parents, it's the culture, it's all this other stuff. No, standards are standards. We're sitting there not educating. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. No, standards have dropped, and the numbers are showing. If we judged a country based on how many kids are being raised by fatherless homes, that's producing crimes at the levels that we're getting, sex during teenage pregnancy, abortion, suicide, incarceration, maybe we ought to look at this. Maybe this is very important. Maybe our educational system sucks. Maybe. Kids spend more time around teachers than they do around their parents. Maybe. Who do we blame? The responsibility has to lie on the nation. Maybe we're either too much involved or we're not selling. Take your time to get married. Take your time before you have sex with someone. Take your time before you get pregnant. Take your time before you have a baby. Protect yourself, stay home, do not just go out there and have unprotected sex. Maybe we're not talking about this kind of stuff. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. The stat says we're not selling it in the right way, and we're paying a price for it.
Who's to blame? PBD points out it's a multifaceted issue, with dropping standards and values. The stats speak for themselves, especially in the West, touted as the freest society, but how free are we really? With soaring crime rates, a growing homeless population, deadly drug issues, and escalating mental health problems.
If you're in a community that crime is high, hello, you're feeling it. That's the stats. So the next time you see a father that takes their job as a father seriously, you can actually say, you know how we see somebody in military uniform? Guess what you say? Hey, thank you for your service. What do you mean? Hey, man, stats, 23% fatherlessness. And you're there with your kids. Thank you for your service. Being a father is tough. Good for you guys, husband and wife, trying to make this work. Marriage is tough. Salute. You make my life better and safer by raising good kids. Salute to you. Maybe we ought to give those awards. Maybe we need to kind of recognize Father of the Year award. A bigger deal. Man, if I ran a state or a country, we would be recognizing certain behavior and turning great fathers and mothers into heroes. Because God knows their job is hard. Very hard. Not making their job harder and not recognizing the guys that are doing a good job, just kind of winging it, which is the way we're doing it right now. Stats don't favor us. We got some work to do. This is an area, well, I will very comfortably say America's got a lot of work to do. We've stepped away from values and principles and we're kind of winging it. Anyways, no one masters parenting, and none of us know if we're going to be great parents or not for about 40 years until our kids are 40 years old. By the time you know you're a great parent, you're probably not alive because your grandkids will validate that you were a good parent. So you're never going to know whether you were a great parent or not. But I made a video from all the different things I've learned and what I apply in my life about parenting called How to Raise Successful Kids. If you've never seen it, click here to watch that video. Shout out to those of you guys that take your job as a father very seriously. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Why doesn't the government pay the married couple of 30 plus years a bonus for working through their marriage, which is a very tough thing to do, and not quitting on their kids because I deserve to be happy? Say 50 grand? You've heard of that saying, you get what you pay for, right? The 50 grand would be an investment, and according to the statistics, the returns on the investment would be priceless. Anyway, that's it from me. If you got value out of this video, Hit the like and smash the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our videos. Patrick definitely won, and I'm done. Please leave your comments and thoughts below. I look forward to reading them, and I'll catch you in the next video.